Hello and welcome to another episode of EPMS Tech Talk. I'm Joanne LaFlamme.
I'm Chris Costa.
So Chris, what would you like to talk about today?
I thought we'd discuss the licensing feature that's coming out with the program in the next quarter.
Sure, that'd be a good thing to talk about today. The way that's going to work is basically our license agreement was always based on the number of users you set up in User Manager. So for example, if you purchased 20 user licenses for your company, you were allowed to create 20 users in User Manager.
Right.
However, it was always based on the honor system. We never controlled that or did any checks for that, and we're going to be doing that in the next release.
Okay.
And that's pretty much due to the growth of our customers and the growth of us. It's become necessary to do that.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Can we take a look at how it works?
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about it. Basically, what's going to come out in the next release is two basic changes. The first change is when you register, you'll be able to register basically your enterprise software.
Okay.
And what you'll do is when you first install the new release, you'll get a message requiring you go into User Manager and to go into the module registration section under the Utilities menu and register the product. There will be a register button. It'll go up and connect actually to our server here, and it will get the list of your assets and how many users you purchased, and it will actually register the software and write the information back down to your database. So going forward, if you buy a new module, you just have to re-register. You don't have to enter those codes anymore.
Okay.
And the second change is there's going to be some changes in how you can set up your users, and it will be tracking how many you have.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense so far.
All right, so let's go take a look at that.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm going to start with a diagram. So I have a PDF here that kind of just talks mainly about the new users and how they work. In this first section, we're talking about the individual users that are going to have access to Enterprise other than data collections. If they need access to any module other than data collections, they fall into this first category. Okay. And in this first category, you'll see each user that you set up in User Manager will take one named user license. So that's kind of the way it's always been, a one-to-one license. This second group is one way to set up your data collection user. You can have a data collection user that is a user in User Manager, but if you do not link them to the shop floor employee record, it is going to take a user license just like the other users we just talked about. And you may want to do that if you have a data collection user that needs access to some other module. If you have a manager that maybe does data collections but also needs job costing access or some access to another area of the program, you'll want to set it up that way.
Okay.
Now that user can be generic Press 1 or a Bindery 1 user as well. If they're not linked in the employee table to any employee, it will take up one license.
Okay.
Okay. This next section is what's really new here, is where you can have data collection users set up in User Manager, and they can be generic users like Press 1 or Bindery 1, or they can be specific users with a specific username. And if you link them to a shop floor employee in your list of employees, it will not take up a license.
Okay.
But they will have absolutely no access to anything else except for data collections.
Okay.
But that lets you have lots of users out in your shop floor that are not taking user licenses.
Right.
So if your shop floor grows, you need to add additional people in there. You don't have to worry about the licenses and how many you have.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is there any risk or downside to having a data collection user set up where they're not linked to an employee?
Well,
if they need access to other parts of the program.
Yeah, if they need access to other parts of the program, yeah, you'd want to set them up that way. The only downfall would be there's a couple features that having a data collections operator linked, or excuse me, a user linked to a shop floor employee gives you the ability, for example, if you want the user when they clock in or clock out of data collections to enter a password.
Okay.
So it is going to look for that password that's on the login.
Okay.
And the other thing is if you use a feature that allows you to restrict who can, people from only printing their own time cards, again, it has to look at the logged in user to see whose time card it is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So really no big deal.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Can we take a look at how to register the modules?
Sure.
Okay.
So let me minimize this and let's go into the module registration. Now I've already registered this, so you can see now I don't have codes here anymore. It just shows me what's active. And it also at the top shows me my account number, the number of user licenses I have, and how many I've used. So when you first come in here, you'll just have to hit the register button, enter your email address, and just click on the Register Enterprise Online Now button, and that will go up to our server and register it for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure. And that's bringing back number of available users and
Correct.
and all that stuff.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Can we go look at the user manager and see how that would be set up at the user level?
Sure. Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go into User Manager, and you can see it looks a little bit different. It tells you how many user licenses are at the top. It tells you how many more you have available and how many data collection users you have. And you'll notice an icon next to each user name here. If you see a little, what looks like a person, that's an actual user license. It's a login taking up a license, so it has access to something other than just data collections. And it is not, that login has, or user login has not been linked to a shop floor employee.
Okay.
If it has what looks like a little computer, it means it has been linked. And it won't take up a license. So you can see I have 11 user licenses that I've purchased. If I count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 users have been set up, but 4 of them are data collections. So that's where the 4 comes in here. I've got 4 of these icons. So that means I've got 5 that are actual users, and so I have 6 still remaining.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I hope that explains it for you. Do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I think that makes pretty good sense. Now I presume that we're going to help with this install.
Yes, we'll have to do this, individually, just helping each user to make sure, that they're compliant and they have the right users, and answer, obviously any questions that you have and how to set up your users.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, makes sense.
Well,
Very good.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another EPMS Tech Talk. I'm Joanne LaFlamme.
I'm Chris Costa.
Please look forward for more to come.